go, Skeeter's dancing. We're up and about today. Tell you what, after 6 hours on radio with you, Skeet, look forward to nothing more than on a Monday morning spending another fucking hour with Shelter FootyCast live from BackChat Studios.
Oh, dear.
Shelter FootyCast on socials. Give us a follow over there. Love to hear your feedback as well. FootyCast at shelterbrewing.com.au. Skeet, we win the Ashes.
Yeah, well, it's been done, and just anyone from
entertainment.
England who lives in anywhere around the country or the world, it's sunshine in Perth, not a cloud in the sky, and in Manchester it just pissed down for 48 hours. Happy days, and the saltiness from the likes of Piers Morgan and that, it's extraordinary. Look, 2-1, we should have lost this test match, but guess what? Them's the breaks. We lost all 4 tosses. We lost our major bowler in Nathan Lyon, so we had no luck in running. Suddenly we get a bit of something in our favour, and the Poms have absolutely stunk it up.
You embody the Australian bullshit that gets rolled out. Look at you, how happy you are.
Well, why should we be? It's the most important trophy in sport for Australia.
It's such a shit way to win, mate.
No. We are 2-1 in front. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty.
Understand.
That's a beauty and of being in front and winning the first 2 matches.
I'm not arguing whether it's legal or not. Do you feel good?
I'm fine. I've got no issue with it at all. It's like you. I was just thinking about that in a footy sense. It's a bit like you getting a result. Say Tom Hawkins kicked a goal in a grand final against St Kilda going back many years ago. Yeah. It actually hit the post.
Yeah.
Is he going to go, oh, we won by a kick? Oh, no, I feel a bit bad about that. Nah, it's not quite right.
Right.
Bullshit. You take what comes your way, Scully, in sport. You should know that better than most.
No, that's a very good point, Skeeter. Thank you very much. I like that.
Although David Warner should still be dropped for the next test, but that's just my personal opinion.
Wax. Skeet's retiring someone else. I spoke to Buddy out in the middle of Optus Stadium, Skeet. He had some words for you, actually. Thirsty Camel Clanger of the Week. When you get through those, Skeeter. Froth Town, what we frothed this weekend. August 18 and 19, Claremont Showgrounds. Skeet, you know how you don't go anywhere without like a private box and champagne
I'm not
and
sure about that.
caviar.
I sat with you for 6 hours in a dungy studio yesterday.
Has been confirmed. Nice little private area arranged at Froth Town for
us.
Anyone involved at the shelter. Sort of.
That's on August 18?
And 19. So I think 18 is the Friday. We're going to be there.
Are we? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I just got to check on that one. I've got a feeling, but I'm not sure.
Skeeter will be there. Froth.town. Get your tickets to see Skeeter having 1,000 beers.
And punting like a loser.
Oh, we're going to cover your punting on the weekend.
Don't worry. Talk about the, what's the moment we're looking for?
Clanger.
That's one of the clangers of the week. Yeah, and it's me.
Well, I don't know how to lead into that, but maybe we'll just get into it once we get through the games. Let's get into some of the big moments that are around Skeeter. Look, it's been an interesting season, I've got to say. There's been some sides that have really jumped out. There's been some underperforming sides. But if we look at the ladder right now with 5 weeks to go, 2 games separating 5th and 14th, that's a positive thing for the game.
It is. Although when you look at that top 8, I think all those sides there are deserving of being there. Barring the team that's in 6th position. When I say barring, the team that looks most vulnerable is St Kilda, and they're in 6th position on 40 points. Carlton's on the move, another 50-point-plus win. We'll discuss that shortly. Richmond continue to surge with a remarkable come-from-behind win. They are the 2 sides that I think are the only chances of really making an indent into the 8.
Yeah, I would agree. Look, from what I saw from Sydney were
at their
good.
best. That's why we saw what we saw on the weekend and think, well, they made a grand final last year, so there's a bit of talent there. They were very impressive.
Because they've got a chance to sort of make a run at it. There was chat last week, the CEO's conference, they did that at Werribee Mansion, just up the road from where I was, so I missed out on Thursday. I was in Geelong.
Werribee, just for my information, the only thing I've ever heard about Werribee is that there's a poo farm there or something.
There is. Right? It's the sewage plantation between Melbourne and Geelong. That's Werribee. Liam Duggan's from not too far away. Bacchus Marsh, not too far away. Pretty much you drive past it on the freeway from Melbourne to Geelong and you can smell it. That's pretty much.
I think Dougie Hawkins is down for that one, anyway.
Yeah, it's a little bit of Western Bulldogs sort of territory. Look, they presented the wildcard round, the 10th and 9th and 8th and 7th.
We discussed it last week.
Yeah.
And look, this is very much an American football style.
It's just relevant because of how close these teams are.
Yeah, but is it rewarding mediocrity?
Well, you could argue that the top 8 already does that, don't you? Like only 2.
So why reward more mediocrity?
Well, potentially though, aren't you sort of slipping? Aren't you sort of cutting a couple of crappy teams before everyone gets going.
I'm more interested just quickly about the 17 play each other once and then the 6.
We should be doing that.
I think it's interesting. That, to me, more intriguing. I'm not quite sure how it would work, but that to me has got more interest than the wildcard round.
Well, from what I've sort of read and seen, the 17 plus 5, I think, does that make sense? Yeah, 17 plus 5 or 6. You would play the 17 sides, every side once, and then they would do sort of a draw reset, and the top 6, the middle 6, and the bottom 6 would sort of be fighting for different things. I like that because that's the biggest part of inequality we have in our game right now is the fixture.
Yep, totally.
And who plays who, where. Like who was the side we had about 3 weeks? West Coast. Was it Brisbane? West Coast have played Brisbane 16 times out of 19 in Brisbane.
Absolutely, and there's been teams doubling up consistently over the past few years. The other suggestion, Simon Garlick came out. In fact, a few of the interstate clubs came out and said best of 3 grand finals. They embrace it.
Yeah, look, Simon Garlick was happy with that, wasn't he?
Yeah, I can't get it. So you're telling me that, say, Collingwood plays Melbourne in this year's grand final.
Yes.
We could potentially be going back to the MCG for 3 weekends in a row to see who plays and wins the GF.
I mean, I can understand what interstate clubs might say.
Oh, totally.
Do you know what I mean? Because you might get a crack at home. But having played at the MCG in a losing grand final and a winning one, I would not have wanted a second crack at it after 2015. Like, I don't think you deserve it.
No.
That's what a final is, right? You either win or lose.
Oh, yeah. Usain Bolt, 100 metres. You won the first. You've got to win the next one as well to best of 3.
I can understand the rhetoric from interstate clubs, like let's get it away from the MCG, give us a chance. But as a player, like I'm a traditionalist. I really do think, and on the flip side, winning it. Like, imagine if we had to come back to the MCG or even Perth to win again after winning. You know, it's a battle. You get one shot at it, and that's what makes it so special. Not one of these three.
No, I agree. But it's a chat, it's a discussion, and I think the 17-6 probably the most likely to get off the ground. But it's not going to happen for 2 or 3 years. Just
a little drive by Collingwood coming from behind again. Now won 12 of 16 games. Went down at 3/4 time under Craig McRae. Got to be some sort of record in that short period of time.
Can I give you a stat which isn't mine, which is pretty normal?
When have you ever had a stat that is yours?
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't know.
Einstein. Yeah. So the last quarters this year, I did see this morning.
Yes.
They have outscored their opponents 72 goals 42, 474 to 36 goals 61, 277. That's a huge differential, and it's a great thing to have in the back of your mind and your opponent's minds come September, given that there's going to be a chance at some stage they'll be behind the game against one of the better sides.
That's a good point. It's a mental tool. Like, okay, I know they're probably fit. They're not double fit than any other side. They might have double the belief than any side though. So it's a great point you make that third quarter in a final, they won't be wondering whether they can do it. They'll just be like, well, how are we going to kick these goals? We're going to kick them.
We're going to change a gear here. We know how to change a gear. The other mob are not quite sure whether they've got another gear.
Correct. So look, they're just been completely impressive. That's close to the game of the year. I would have thought Collingwood Port, even the build up. I think
the banter.
We're seeing a real shift, and it will continue to happen over the next 12, 24, 36 months. Is we're going to start accepting more that players are going to be Maynard stuff.
Chirping.
Yeah.
Kenny Hinkley.
Yeah, Kenny Hinkley, Craig McRae. With these guys at the leadership positions at these clubs, we will see more. Media starting to get clipped when they clip players for being themselves. It's good. It's a good thing.
And I totally agree.
And
we see American sport probably goes to the nth degree. We'll never get there. We're a bit more like the English football clubs where it's all pretty, keep things under wraps. But I agree. It's good to see a little bit of character, a bit of and build up, promote the game. That's been great.
Willie Rioli's strike on Nathan Murphy. I think it's probably worth touching on this as the last big moment of the round. He's been given 2 weeks for that incident. Did you see it? Have you seen it?
I know we were discussing this yesterday on radio, but you're
discussed everything for 6 hours.
Open hand. Is more the action. I mean, it wasn't like Rochelle where there was the fist was closed. To my knowledge, it was more an open hand.
There's significant potential here for Port Adelaide to challenge and get off, or at least downgrade it to 1 week. It was an open hand. The actual motion and the action is something that happens quite regularly. It's sort of a swiped. He's got a defender in front of him. They're coming towards a high ball, and where he's trying to get front and centre, and you've got to get that offender out of the way. Now, you don't just dance in front of them and try to mistake. You physically do it, right? So he's got it wrong. Clearly, he's made high contact. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets downgraded to 1 week, because I don't think it was an intentional strike to the head. I think it was an intentional action, but not to his head, and it slipped up off his shoulder.
What was intentional was the racist abuse that came afterwards on social media, and life bans being called for. And
Good.
I've got no issue with that.
Yeah,
life
good.
bans and footy, good stuff. And
Just
one
imagine
company, one person with their company, now whether it's their company or whether they work for that company, attached on their tweet. Now, it just in a nutshell brings back to attention how and when we're going to get at least some form of identification for people to put themselves out on Twitter, on social media, so that, you know, whether it's yourself, whether it's a female athlete, whether it's a politician, whether they have to put up with that type of crap from anonymous sources.
Social media, it's good in a lot of ways. There's a huge negative aspect to what that is. I love the banter on social media. I get into it with people, and it's good. But you'd like to think that at the end of it all, you could stop, and then, you know, if you're in real life, you could have a beer and be like, right, that's your opinion. You've had a go at me. I can have a laugh, have back. Yeah. Imagine getting on and racially vilifying.
There's no way back from that. I mean, apart from being caught red-handed and saying, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was going to be seen. I've life ban, absolutely. They won't enforce it because they won't be able to find half of these perpetrators.
We wish we could. Mark Reddings, Will Schofield, Shutter FootyCast. Skeeter, my first 9 from 9 this year.
Me too.
Not on this show, mate. You picked Hawthorn for the roughie of the week, buddy.
Seriously. How do I know you got 9 from 9? You weren't even here.
I'll show you it, mate.
I'll show you mine on my West Tipping app. Seriously.
Who did you change? Didn't you change someone? You were rambling about changing a tip you had.
I was thinking of changing the Essendon Bulldogs game, but I stayed with the Bulldogs, and I was thinking of Port Adelaide Collingwood, and I stayed with Collingwood, but only just.
I've never seen a darker individual than Mark Reddings on radio yesterday. We're halfway through the first quarter. Skeets it up and about, energetic man. Look at him. He's happy-go-lucky sort of guy, and he just turns to this bitter mess of a human being. He's shaking his head. He's refusing to call. Carl's throwing to him. He's play-by-playing. Skeet's going.
I didn't see that.
Kicked it. Yeah. Oh, he's kicked a goal. Good on you. All right, Scotty, what do you think? What happened?
Is this the clang of the week? We're going to throw.
No, I'm just setting the scene for you. Weren't happy this week.
I had some bad luck in running, shall we say, with the footy punting. Just in a nutshell, I won't go too long because no one wants to know my issues.
I do actually.
I had Bulldogs 1-39.
How much did they win by?
I think 41. 41, yeah. I had, what else do we have?
GWS?
Well, that was yesterday. I had GWS 1-39. They win by 40. I backed Port Adelaide to win. I tipped Collingwood, backed Port Adelaide to win. They led by 17 at three-quarter time, beaten by 2. I had Brisbane to win at the line at -12.5. What did they win by? 11. Didn't touch the Carlton Eagles game, thank goodness for that.
That's
backed Hawthorn at -3 when they led by 30 points. Lost by 1. So, yeah, no. That can you understand why there was a bit of filth in my
I've never seen it darker. Jeez,
you don't mind getting beaten occasionally, but seriously, if the big bloke upstairs has got any sense of fairness, he'll give me a better run in future.
Skeet is round 19, and I don't think you've won a round yet, buddy. Carlton defeat West Coast by 71. Let's get into the Western Australian side of things. Game under the dome.
No, well, yesterday's game, the roof was open, which Ross Lyons criticised. To be honest with you, I couldn't tell whether I didn't see.
You could tell how bad that game was, though. You wouldn't be surprised if they'd been watering the.
It was horrendous. But the WA teams, what we saw with the Eagles again. Fremantle had this issue. We'll talk about that. But the first quarter, it was game over at quarter time. 9 goals to nothing.
No, never in the contest. You can see in first 15 first half goals to 2. And then they won the third and fourth quarter, West Coast.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're the Carlton, and bear in mind, no Chera, no Cripps, Walsh went down. The question I ask is, initially with Charlie Curnow, when Tom Barras obviously was out, Brody Hoff, is that something that you, if you take a step back, go, he's a player that you think could curtail Charlie Curnow?
I mean, Brody Hoff, no.
But he went to him early, didn't he?
Yeah, but who else are you going to put on him?
Well, there had to be
it's Rhett Bazzo or Oscar Allen.
Well, Rhett Bazzo's got more height. Anyway, it was something that Simo decided to pull the trigger on that, and clearly it was a mismatch.
Well, unfortunately for Brady, the midfield got their pants pulled down, and that was Luke Shuey, Tim Kelly, Andrew Gaff, Dom Sheed, Bailey Williams, who's not an experienced ruckman, but they weren't against Patrick Cripps or Adam Chera, and Walsh did his hammy halfway through the second quarter. Like, they didn't have their best team in. So, as a backman defending the backs, you can't do much if you're just getting your absolutely proverbials pulled down in the middle of the ground. So I'm not sure if Tom Barras was there, would have done too much else anyway. Yeah. So Charlie Kerner kicks 10 goals. That's 19 goals against West Coast.
2 games this year.
So is that, I mean, there's been chat about it compromising the Coleman medal. I personally don't think so. Everyone else has got the opportunity to do the same thing.
Totally. I mean, he's got 61, leads by 7 from Tex. No, Charlie Kerner, he just...
Tex kicked his 10 against West
Exactly.
Coast.
So, no, Charlie, good luck to him. And I personally, I'm not sure that the absence of Harry Mackay, I mean, you'd like to have him available, but I think it actually gives Kerner the chance to own the forward line.
Yeah, correct. Massive incident in this game, which is going to have big repercussions for the rest of this season and some big decisions to be made at the end of the year. Luke Shuey does his another hamstring. He did in the first quarter, I think. So, I mean, questions were being asked about senior players at West Coast anyway. For Luke Shuey...
it wasn't form with him. It was just about his body.
No, look, it makes me feel a bit sick, really, with Luke Shuey. You've seen what he does when he gets on the park. He's still one of the best midfielders in the competition. So if we put an empathetic hat on, just imagine how he'd be feeling, knowing he can still play at the level, being the captain of his side, and his body won't hold up. I know Luke obviously very well. He's one of my great mates. The work he does to get his body right, like, there wouldn't be too many more people in the AFL working harder. So for just your body to let you down, and it's not because of work rate, it's not because of the rehab you're putting in. Like, it makes me feel sick about it, really. Like,
he's not the first player though that his body hasn't been able to respond to playing continuously. Once you get past 30, Scully, it does get difficult for whatever reason.
So like someone like me, I physically, I was just sort of done on all elements. The mental factor probably more for me, and I was happy and I was done. Like, you'd have an empty feeling if it was just your body, you wanted to keep going and you could perform still. Like, I probably wasn't able to do that. So, yeah, I don't know if he goes on next year. I don't want to sign his tombstone or whatever.
No, I agree. But I think
it's going to be difficult.
You can't take a step back. I think, but people who don't know Luke as well as you can take a step back and go, I think they played 17 games last year. I think he's played, 10 thereabouts this year. I might be wrong. Thereabouts. So, are you going to be content or have to live with the fact that if he plays on, and you need to keep some experience out there potentially, if it's just the way they're thinking, that you're going to, if you get 12 games out of Luke next year, you have to live with that and almost plan for it as opposed to a whole season, because you're not going to get it. The evidence is there that he simply hasn't got the body to cope anymore.
The question I haven't heard asked too much is it Luke's choice or is it the club's choice? So
both. I would have thought it'd be a mutual discussion. Given the respect that they have for each other, I would have thought a mutual discussion, just as it will be with Shannon Hearn, who's been managed quite a lot this year. Look, he still plays good footy when he's in the team, no question about that, but he's at the direction that the Eagles want to take in the short term.
Yep, correct. Carlton finished this game with one player on the bench, so potentially that's a little reason that West Coast fight back. Look, it's patching over the cracks a little bit from West Coast point of view. I think Noah Long looked really good for mine. He's an absolute diamond in the rough. They've found him. He kicked a couple at least. Positives, I don't know if there's not too many else. Andrew Gaff was actually quite good.
Yeah, he's been, since he got absolutely smashed in the media, and I'm in the media, like he got 6 disposals against Brisbane. Sub, came on, did a job. Simo promised that he'd play more minutes and obviously start. So, no, I think Gaffy's shown a fair bit of resilience, bit of character, but that wouldn't surprise you, having played with footy with him.
Noah Long kicked one, not 2, but I just like the look of him.
A small forward, always a tough role, and he's been a bit of a spark, so too Bailey Williams this year. Outside of that, as I said, Jimby, surgery, gone for the season. And they got North this week, which we'll discuss later, but... I'm not sure where to put this game in terms
That's going to be fun on Thursday. We actually have some fun previewing a West Coast game for once. Sydney defeat Fremantle by 29 points. Do you have any money on this one? No, you didn't because you're working the game. Freo, their season goes from... Look, does it go from bad to worse? I don't know.
I didn't think their performance was as bad as what I've seen. I thought their performance against Carlton was more listless.
So Fremantle's performance for 3.5 quarters of this game was on par with Sydney. It could have gone either way.
Yep.
Towards the end of the game, 5 goals of difference. Freo were just peppering Sydney, and it felt like at the ground that they could have been within a goal. They give up 6 goals in the first quarter. They kick their 2 early, and then they give up 4 or 5 goals in a row. They started terribly. Again, they've won 2 first quarters this year. That is past a pattern of behaviour. That is a real issue that exists. It's not we had injuries one week and we travelled another week. Like, if you can only win 2 in a year of football, that's a big issue.
You're probably not making finals. I mean, you can't just keep playing catch up. After quarter time, that being said, it was 10 goals apiece.
Yeah, correct.
So you said. So there was,
but you can't put the positive spin on it because they've just completely butchered it. Again, it's a pattern,
and they're aware of it, and it's a bit
correct.
like. I'm not using a cricket analogy, but it's a bit like Stuart Broad into David Warner or some.
Oh, it's happening.
It's stuff that's in the mind.
It's real.
And how they change that, it has to lay at the feet of the coaches initially. I mean, the players execute, but where do you put the blame?
Yeah, it's both. It's on the coaches to begin with. Like, clearly they would have identified it. It's not like it's not happening. But you have to give some sort of structure or some sort of motivation or something for the players to execute. Now, if they're doing that and the players aren't executing it, then it comes to the players. But Lee Spur made the point on air. He said he'd be happy if 3 or 4 players got reported next week in the first quarter if they just came out with just this ruthless.
Well, when he's saying report, he means just attacking the man, attacking the footy with a real,
I don't disagree, to be honest, Skeet. Like that is just, it's an indictment on the group. If you can't actually stand for something, they don't stand for anything really. That's nothing. And then they come in, they fight their way back, and they're a pretty good side. But you can't beat any team when you play like that. Lance Franklin's still got it. He's kicked 3 goals.
He did.
It was against Alex Pearce. There's been some criticism post this game in his position as captaincy and his form. To me, Alex Pearce, I reckon he looks like he's getting 3, 4, 5 jabs in one of his legs to play. He looks like he can't run.
But he looked sore about 6 or 7 weeks ago.
He doesn't it looks like he doesn't have the
agility
function of his leg, mate. I was watching him. He can't run and stand up at stages. So,
and that'll come out, I'm sure, either post-season
I reckon
or at some stage. They'll say, look, why, for instance, I know there's 5 weeks to go, why wouldn't you, if there's something not right with him,
well,
put him out to pasture.
Probably because he's proud and
he's captain. No, totally. I don't get this captaincy thing. I mean, the criticism wasn't there when they got on a roll, beat Melbourne. It's a bit like Pat Cummins. Once results go against you, the fingers pointed at the suspects and normally it's the captain.
That's the same with coaches and.
Oh, totally. And we get that's the nature of the beast.
Jai Amos. They'll go close.
Mark of the round.
Close
there were a couple, I think, on the weekend that were handy as well. One, did we do one at the MCG yesterday? There was a big mark. Van Rooyen? No.
Yeah.
Wasn't
bad. Yeah, good point. That was a good mark, though. Sean Darcy didn't play this game. Luke Jackson won out in the ruck. How did you see his game?
Yeah, I'm just still trying to work out what his long-term role with the club will be, to be honest.
Yes.
I don't think he's... Is he a bona fide ruckman? No. So is he a bona fide forward?
He had 43 hit-outs.
That's a good result.
Yeah, man. He was pretty good.
He was good.
But Shooter Schultz, big friend of the family here, 4 goals. He looked good as well. Brayshaw and Strong. Look, honestly, if you assess Freo's game, a lot of their players played well.
And they tried their hard. And so I didn't think it was their worst performance of the year by any measure. No. But they just, the first quarters let them down. They dropped behind by 4 goals, and from then on it's always difficult. And I was impressed by Sydney when they get rolling. They've got some really slick operators through the middle, and didn't see, like Goulden, really keen to see how he played live.
How old do you reckon Luke Parker is?
Luke Parker, I would guess 28.
Oh, really? I feel like he's like 35. I feel like he's been there for so long. He's 30.
He's 30, is he? Okay.
He's 30. He's had 31, 9 tackles. He was out.
He has been for a long time.
He was their best player. But I feel like he's been doing the same thing forever. He's hard in and under, consistent, reliable. Well, he was playing in their grand finals, like in the
2013. Around that era.
Like he was doing all that. So he must have been like 20 years old doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Show FootyCast. In the first tough beat of the weekend, Western Bulldogs defeat Essendon by 41. Skeet probably had them at the line for 40.
No, 1-39.
Sorry.
And I got 9 out of 9 in my genuine tipping, and guess what? I still lost.
I'm going to bang on about this. Oh, the one I missed for West Coast.
Yep.
I was meant to do this before the show. I'm going to try and remember them as they go. Late injury changes.
He's still going.
Mate, there would have been 10 on the weekend. Every game had them. Geelong had them. West Coast had them. Sydney Freo had them.
Matilda's had them.
Yeah, that was good though. I like that. Mate, like, I don't rate it. So remember Adelaide had 2 yesterday.
Yeah, but Oh, look,
What are we doing?
I do get it,
What are
but
we doing?
some of the changes.
Don't get it. I'm going to keep banging on about it till they
You can't
change
blame the
it.
clubs.
Hey?
You can't blame the clubs.
No, you can't blame them. But I
It's the
can
rules.
blame them.
It's the rules that are put in place. You adhere to the rules, like any sport.
I'll blame the AFL. Time to start tightening the screws so we don't get this bullshit.
What if there's an illness, for instance, which does happen?
Do you reckon they know if they're sick or not? Like,
probably.
And you got to be pretty sick to not play AFL footy, skate. Like I've never missed through illness. I'm not saying I'm a hero, but like I saw Bo Waters one day. Like he came in, and he was as like the worst man flu you've ever had. You can't even open your eyes. He was pale, and he played. He played. He
probably ran into a pack backwards.
Correct. Like you'd have to be pretty sick not to play these days.
Okay.
Anyway. It's pissing me off, and I'll try and remember as we go. Western Bulldogs beat Essendon by 41 points. Marcus Bontempelli, why is he not getting more attention about the Brownlow medal? I know we love Nick Dacos. I know we do.
He'd be second favourite though, wouldn't he?
No, isn't he? Not the last time I looked.
I haven't looked for a while.
I looked last week, and he was like 5th or 6th favourite.
Okay, so outside Nick Dacos,
mate, Tim Taranto's getting a look, and
no, I'm not sure. I would have thought the Bont would have been in the top 3 or 4.
He's now 3rd, but he was $12 last week, and he's into 7 now. And I called it about 6 or 7 weeks ago. Bont he gets the 3 votes here. Tom Liberatore was very good. He had 36 in and
love
under.
him?
Well, I do. He's my favourite player, but Bont is very close second, I reckon, at the moment. He was outstanding. Tim English, 18 disposal, 33 hit outs. Essendon were poor, and Bulldogs very good.
Yeah, Ugle-Hagan with 3, Waitman with 3. Bulldogs, they haven't really impressed me in the last 6 or 7 weeks, but Essendon, I think, is the story here because they've now sort of hit, is it the late season brick wall? And unfortunately, the Bombers now look like they're probably going to miss the 8.
Might have been overperforming to start with.
Yeah, possibly. And Brad Scott's done a good job, let's be honest with that. But unfortunately, they were out hustled in the contested footy. They were beaten up. Bulldogs, again, they've got something about them. If they click, they're a pretty dangerous side. They just need to get themselves into a reasonable position, preferably top 4, which ain't going to happen, I don't think, being 2 games outside that bracket. They're going to be playing another elimination final next year, this year.
There was a lot of criticism about Essendon's lateral ball movement in this one. So, to make matters worse, Jordan Ridley's done his quad, I reckon, and he's going to be out for the rest of the year. He's one of their best players. But they've lost by, close to 10 goals. Kelly, who's a backman, had 16 marks. Laverde had 15 marks. Ridley had 14 marks. McGrath had 10 marks. Zerk Thatcher had 10 marks. You got 5 blokes over double-digit marks.
And they're playing the back half.
Yeah, so that's not the way to win games of football. Richmond defeat Hawthorn by 1 point. In one of the great comebacks, look, regardless of who it's against, you're still going to be able to do it. They come back from 30 points down at three-quarter time. Sam Mitchell and the Hawks would be spewing on this one.
They would. And having said all of that, I think there's the Hawthorn style of play has been really encouraging. So they did a lot right for a long time. Mitch Lewis kicks 4. I thought, Sicily, always important to their side. Wingard had a good day out. But yeah, when you look at Richmond's season, under Dimmer, they struggled to win the close games for a while this year. Suddenly, Andrew McQualter has found the key to getting the team to get across the line in tight matches. They kicked 5 goals to nothing in the last quarter. Hawthorn, unfortunately for them, just couldn't finish off the game. But they lose no admirers, and Richmond keep their season well and truly alive.
Knowing Sam Mitchell, he will use this as much as he'd love to win it. In the end, it doesn't matter if you win this year for Hawthorn.
No.
They probably love if they could just slip into a pick 4 instead of a pick 5. I'm sure that's not on their mind. But knowing Sam Mitchell, losing that game, he'll be able to probably teach more than winning it.
Yeah. And interesting, so just to interrupt you, when it comes to how they lost that game, he spoke afterwards, Sam, about they hadn't yet, through their training, practiced the last 2 minutes of a match, tight situation. He said that will evolve as we get better as a team.
That's what I mean. So that's the first time as a player. I remember playing and being in situations like that for the first time. You don't actually know what you're doing. And that might sound silly because you've gone through junior footy. But a lot of these players play in good teams. They win all the time. They don't go through these tight situations where the pressure becomes more than just being a player. There's scoreboard pressure. The crowd is louder. Umpires start doing different things. Every moment means something, and you need to be so highly organised to get it right.
So did you have a 2-minute or 3-minute or whatever the case may be at the Eagles?
Yeah, we would have had like a 3 to 4 minute one, and then like a 30-second one, either win or losing.
Okay, so if you're behind, and often it's a lot easier to plan for when you're in front.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's clearly a possession but based game.
So all of these things require just when you're in the moment. You need to play footy, but the actual tweaks you make are from a structure point of view. So think about you down by less than a goal with a minute to go. Your wingers would become more attacking. You'd get a half back absolutely piss bolting through the square. Your centre stoppage, they'd be trying to come out the front. They'd have a special play there, or around the ground tapping out the back. Forwards would empty to one side and have a special play down there. Backs would just be aggressive in front. You're sort of rolling the dice, right? Pretty much everything I said there, if you're up by 5 points, you do it the opposite.
Yeah.
Wings come back, centre bounce, you go a lockdown formation. If you get the ball, you're not kicking it into the forward line, you kick them wide, all that sort of stuff. And again, it's really difficult to practice it because you need to
match simulation.
Make it up. Yeah.
It's so hard.
Main training, they might do it and go, all right, boys, we're practicing it now. So they'll do that this week, but it's still not the same.
And the GF, that's 5 years ago, the GF, given that players that were supposed to be off the field and those that were supposed to be on the field, was there a set play element to that? Do you recall?
That one was a shit show but Willie Rioli played his first centre bounce of the day in that last centre bounce. Don't know how he ended up in there, but Dom Sheed was meant to be off and stayed on and all this stuff.
Ryan, yeah.
The better one was the Collingwood qualifying final, and we were down before Jetta kicked that goal, and there was a stoppage, probably 2 minutes to go, and we watched this. I remember watching this before the prelim. We just set up better than Collingwood. We had our organisation right. They had too many men behind the ball. We sort of fed, switched the ball, came in, and then we came in from the other side, and then Jetta, read the play and did his magic. But it was actually the setup of the stoppage that got it done. Yeah, it's just interesting little permutations.
But
like
that's
that.
Hawthorn. That's why they're still an evolving team. But I tell you what, if you're buying stocks in footy teams, futures, they're one of them.
It might be one of the only things I've got right this year. Sydney being bad, not playing finals, and Hawthorn being better than we thought they'd be. I think they are the only two. Brisbane defeat Geelong by 11 points. It got tighter than you thought here. Geelong had only kicked 3 goals at three-quarter time, so it was always going to be difficult for them to go on and kick a winning score. Brisbane at the Gabba, are we surprised?
Not really. Low-scoring game. I mean,
That was surprising.
That's one which did surprise me. And Geelong, I don't think you lose too much heart with their performance.
It was their first goalless opening quarter since 2015.
Wow, that's 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And look, Brisbane only kicked 2-5 themselves. So, after, I suppose in many ways, and Chris Fagan spoke about this after the game, with the last quarter, he reckons that Chris Scott would have said to his players, hey, these boys collapsed last week, albeit at the MCG, which is a different beast. But he was proud of the fact that the mental challenges that they might have had with Geelong coming at them, they were able to hold off. Archie kicks a very important goal late in the piece. They get across the line. Does it solve the issue of whether Brisbane is a premiership contender? I think not, because of the venue.
Yes. Which is literally going to hang with them until they start doing
until they win one at the MCG. Yeah, but they are in third spot, so they're going to get a double chance.
Yeah.
Just a question of...
and one at home, guaranteed.
Yeah, so where they play, can they get past Port Adelaide? Well, their percentage is excellent.
They're going to want to play Port Adelaide at Adelaide rather than Collingwood at the MCG.
Oh, 100%.
In the first qualifying
final. Well, their percentage and a game ahead of Melbourne. So you're thinking there's second best case, third most likely.
Brisbane dominated the clearances in this one, 49-22.
Yeah, and we've buried the headline here, of course. Will Ashcroft with an ACL. That's just terrible news for the young man, and that's 12 months historically. He's whether he wins a Rising Star from here is problematical. Will he win the goal of the year? Possibly, but that's just
definitely can still see winning the goal of the year, and I think he can win the Rising Star as well. It's not a Brown though, so so he's played more than 3/4 of the year. He's a favourite, and if it stopped right now, he'd probably get it. I think also Brisbane players, you don't get the attention that some of the Victorian guys do. So you start saying Sheasel and North Melbourne,
be good,
and the St Kilda lad that have completely just mentally blanked. That's terrible. Both put a ball in both our heads, seriously. Like, put him out to pasture.
We put Amos in there. He's kicked 32 goals. It's probably going to be a touch off the pace.
Just generally, just put us out in the back. Oh, seriously, that's just.
Who's the St Kilda bloke we're trying to remember here?
Jaden won't know. Hang on, I got to fight. No, Jaden won't know.
Big little whack.
No, I wasn't.
Well, you brought it up.
I know. Hang on, Owens. Jeez.
Oh, Mitch Owens. Well, he was important yesterday.
Yeah,
we'll get to
I know. And he, jeez, that's bad by you and me. I tell you what, we spent too much time together. Yeah, so Will Ashcroft, ACL, terrible news. Collingwood defeat Port Adelaide by 2 points. Game of the round, definitely game of the year, maybe. We haven't squeezed out a Thirsty Camel Clanger of the week either, Skeeter.
Well, I think I've used my punting poor skills on that front. But anyway, there's probably one clanger to come.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what my froth town, what I frothed on this weekend, August 18 and 19, Claremont Showgrounds. Get your tickets at froth.town. I love the build-up to this. I know we spoke about it before, but I loved Ken Hinkley. I loved Braden Maynard. I loved there was something in it. And you could see it actually flowed through to the players, the physicality, and then post, Craig McRae, was like the players, it was like they won a grand final. And I think Craig McRae boosts that. He wants that to happen.
Encourage it. And yes, you admire how Collingwood, I mentioned their last quarters, but they have so many teams coming at them at the moment, so many big games, and you just think, surely they're going to be a bit flat, but they get across the line. I'll happily join you with the Frothtown moment because he's done this again last year against Essendon. I think it was last year. This year against Port Adelaide, Jamie Elliott kicks. Talk about clutch goals.
Yes,
that's one of the best goals you'll see in the circumstances.
Yes. To
essentially win the game for his team.
Yeah.
Jamie Elliott. That's a Frothtown moment, and just shows you that some players want the moments, want those moments in their hands, and he's one that clearly has no issues with taking responsibility.
Yeah, that was elite. I thought of what my Thirsty Camel Clanger of the week is. It's these teams putting out late changes. Can you see if you can have a look over there, Jane? How do I find out what late changes were? I reckon there was 10. My Thirsty Camel Clanger of the week is we're just treating fans with disdain. We're just like a bunch of flogs that just rock up to the footy every week. That's where the AFL clubs and the AFL are treating fans at the moment. It's pissing me off.
You know, you've made that point pretty clear, but there weren't too many clangers in this one. And I'll be totally honest, you and I, we didn't see much of this game because we were otherwise engaged.
Sure, there was lots of people watching the game.
Exactly, we know more about what happened in this game. But we do know that Elliott kicked the match winner. Rosie continues to play really well. Sam Pepper got them off to a real flyer.
Mate, that goal was elite. Sam Pepper is like, he sets the energy for Port Adelaide.
His best season in the AFL, isn't it?
But we knew this. I remember watching him as an East Perth kid. He's playing the same way. He was doing it in the waffle as a 17-year-old bull. So,
speaking of East Perth, well done to them, top of the table.
Yeah, saw that.
Had Hammer on the couch last week. And he was.
Was he giving it a Braden Maynard? Was he?
No, not at all. But I called the game on Saturday at Mandurah, and he got a cut across the eye, so he had a bit of the. Looked like Rocky Balboa at the end of it.
I ran into some Peel boys down at Mandurah yesterday. Look, I think they struggle when Freo start getting injuries.
Well, that's the given, isn't it?
Correct. So. It's a big win for East Perth, though.
It is. And, you've been down in Mandurah a fair bit, so you know a bit about the Peel boys.
Tell you what, I'm absolutely down there. I've done about 8 trips in 24 hours down there. Taylor Adams in his 200th game as well.
And a little give, I think, a little hand pass for a goal.
We love that. A good froth on that.
That's a bit of froth there.
I think that was Jamie Elliott.
Yeah, little teamwork moment. So, another big win for the Magpies. They're finishing on top of the table, just a question of who they play in the qualifying final.
Yes, that's correct. Now, I believe Willem Drew potentially ran with Nick Dacos for this one.
Which is what I suggested to Hamish Brayshaw might be the case. In fact...
So you've claimed it, have you?
No, we were talking about it on Thursday. You weren't here, you didn't see the podcast, but you're now questioning what I said. So I'm telling you, I said on Thursday, Willem Drew's probably an option to run with. And Craig McRae, believe it or not, I think he said, I hope Willem Drew runs with him.
Well... Look, I don't know if he's quelled his influence. Apparently, it was a quiet game by his standards. He didn't have the marks. He had 0 marks, but he still had 25 touches a goal, and the goal was a good one with 6 tackles.
But you sort of take that, though, as a...
I think so. You'd rather that than 10 marks, 2 goals.
36 touches.
Yeah. GWS defeat Gold Coast by 40 points. The Giants keep rolling. I tell you what, they're up into the 6th spot now, or 7th spot, somewhere there. They're sizzling, 6 in a row.
Yeah, they've been really good, and they've been involved in a lot of close games this year, but they put this game to bed by 3/4 time, 6 goals to 1 in the third quarter.
Toby Green again,
3
7 shots
goals.
on goal. If he has 5 shots on goal, they win.
Yeah, and he's not their best player yesterday.
Isn't he?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he was their best player.
Who was?
Well, I thought Cornelio was pretty good, actually, to
Yeah.
be honest with you. I thought he was really good. Himmelberg, Taylor's is, if not, well, I'm saying underrated, but he's a genuine star.
Reports say he was best on ground.
Was he, Sam Taylor?
Yeah. We had a discussion on radio yesterday about West Australians that West Coast need to target. He'd be top of the list if they could get him, wouldn't he?
Not me. No, not me.
What?
No, he's a great player. I said that I think I would rather get a young emerging forward.
He said something derogatory about Backman.
No, well, Backman are a bit easier to, like culture and even,
He said Dime doesn't, I think.
No, I didn't say Dime. I said, but this is others have said this, but failed forwards turn into Backman. I've never said that, but some have over the journey, Will. And so off the back of that, I would rather, and look, if you get a Jacob Van Rooyen, a Logan McDonald, they're the types of players, in terms of if you're looking for forwards, that if you're trying to lure someone back as opposed to Sam Taylor, be handy at West Coast particularly, but with the absence of, whether Tom Marisk leaves or whether Jay McGovern's got much time left, he's a gun. Irrespective, you're right, he's a superstar.
Melbourne defeat Adelaide by 4 points. We worked this game, Skate. It was a good one. I think Adelaide really just butchered their way out of this game. I think they'll bet the better side in the end. You'd have to say that, wouldn't you?
I don't know if you keep saying this with teams that are losing, but I'm not sure that's the case.
They kicked 2 goals 15 in the first half. What did they kick? What was that? What was the half time?
3 goals 9.
Right.
To 6 goals 4. Yeah.
Putrid in front of goal.
And that cost them any chance of victory. 4 points the end margin. Cosy Pickett was electric, wasn't he? They started in the centre square, did some great work forward.
I like how they're using him as a midfielder.
Yeah, I think it's a really smart move by Goodwin just to change things up. Still doing it without, of course, Clayton Oliver. And you'd think that,
Their best is good.
Their best is good, but as I said to you before the game, I don't think they're travelling super at the moment. I mean, it shows you last week they had trailed by 5 goals or whatever it was against Brisbane and just got across the line at the end. So same result.
They're pulling a lot of levers at the moment. They're trying to get things going. Yeah.
I thought you did that deliberately.
Why would I know what I'm doing?
Levers, yeah.
Thank you. Cosy Pickett into the midfield. They've dropped Grundy. They're trying to get their forward line sorted. Tomlinson played a really important role yesterday. I agree with you. I don't think their best is the best in the comp right now, but
doesn't have to be.
I don't think they'd be too worried about where they're sitting if they can get it going.
Yeah.
They haven't quite got it going, but they're close.
And I reckon bear in mind, if they're probably going to finish top 4, very much likely top 4. Collingwood first week most likely. So that wouldn't faze them given what they did on the King's birthday holiday. But yeah, they need Oliver back. They need to get, obviously, Viney to continue his good work. Brayshaw was really impressive. Maxie Gawn, I think, was it 3 goals in the end and about 40 touches? So he was excellent. And I suppose that there begs the question with Grundy, what you do with him moving forward. And Petrarca, probably not a standout game as we're used to seeing.
Yeah, correct. But I think they'll continue to keep moving. Now, this one here, I knew I had a Thirsty Camel clanger of the week. Make sure you get down to Thirsty Camel. Don't run out of your favourite. Grab your shelters at Thirsty Camel. How do you leave the roof open at Marvel Stadium? I won my only Brownlow vote with the roof open at Marvel Stadium.
Who was it against?
It was against Carlton.
What year?
2012 or 13.
What round?
Later in the year, 16, 17, 18.
One vote?
Yeah, just the one vote. It has been passed on to me that perhaps maybe my name was just pushed forward in lights a little bit, probably stronger than it should have been for those votes. But my point is, if you've got a roof, just leave it on. This is Ross Lyons' post-game comments. Have you heard these yet?
I have seen a bit of it.
I'm pretty sure if it was Essendon v Bulldogs, they wouldn't have left the roof open all night and all morning. This ground is like a car park at the best of times. Hard. Anyone who watched the game, the ball was like a cake of soap. Correct, Skate?
Well, though, it was a shite game, so yeah, probably.
We rang the ground manager pre-game. They didn't know why the roof had been open. The seats were wet for fans. Broadcasters have the right to be disappointed. If it's at the MCG, it's okay because the ground has got give in it, and it's not like an ice skating rink.
Well, there's no roof at the MCG for starters. But
but he's saying the ground's different, which I agree.
Yeah, it is. It's a harder surface.
One's an outdoor ground, one's an indoor ground. He said, whoever is responsible for that, hopefully they get their processes right. AFL clubs are so process-driven. I thought we got treated with contempt, both clubs.
You know what? He's probably right, but he's also deflecting from the fact that was a terrible game of footy. It was an absolute horrendous game to keep an eye on. 9 goals apiece. St Kilda were poor for 3 quarters. They kicked 5 goals in the last term. Admittedly, they rose to the challenge. You mentioned Mitch Owens previously, and he kicked 2 goals to to cap off what's another really good season for him, rising star in the mix.
You said it might have been the worst game of the year.
Oh, well, St Kilda have been involved in the worst games of the year. Aesthetically looking. I mean, if you're saying supporter, you get the result. I'm still not convinced that who have they got this week? I'm not convinced they make the 8. Hawthorn, Marvel Stadium. I think Hawthorn's a real chance to get them there as well.
Hawthorn will knock them off. Yeah, Hawthorn will knock them off
as
there.
They did. Again, we talk about teams doubling up. Feels like about 8 weeks ago, Hawthorn came from about 4 goals behind to beat St Kilda.
Yes.
The fixture is there, and St Kilda, they'll take the win. Your man, Luke Davies-Uniacke, was outstanding.
LDU, UDL, whatever you like. Knock a couple of passion fruit UDLs back. He was very good. Jack Steele was probably the best player on the ground. He had over 30 disposals. Very good. Nick Larkey and Taron Thomas both kicked 3 goals. West Coast would have been watching this game pretty closely after getting done on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Is it the... What is it? What is this? Is
this the Cruiser Cup of 2023?
Yeah. What is it? Like, is it the wooden spoon playoff? Like,
I don't think it's a wooden spoon playoff because I don't think North Melbourne can surrender 17th spot.
Correct.
Can they? Because West Coast have got to win 2 games.
Yeah.
Essentially to get on top of them.
Freo?
Oh, gee.
Matt, can you just imagine if West Coast play Freo and
that'd be like
the whole place will burn
like
down.
the Poms in Manchester this morning as they wake up. And it's going to be sunshine in Manchester tonight. That would just be ironic. Problem is, if you look at the numbers, and I have just over the last 24 hours, for this year, and points for, North Melbourne, 1,238, the Eagles, 1,071. Against, they've conceded 1,859 points, Eagles, 2,192. So...
Right.
The numbers suggest that North Melbourne are playing better footy, which I think they are.
I'm well aware that North Melbourne has a strong supporter base around Australia. I copped some direct feedback about I tweeted something about Harley Reid and
yes,
whether or not he had to sum up who'd be closer to a premiership. I'd probably stand by my comments that I think West Coast are closer to a premiership, not because West Coast are going any good. I don't think West Coast are winning a premiership.
But they've got the ability. The evidence is they've got the ability to bounce quicker than North.
I just can't see how I can't see how they change that culture anytime soon, which is a losing one. So, look, I had some really nice and direct feedback.
I saw a couple of posts.
And adverse to Willie Rioli, right?
Yep.
Like Willie Rioli, racial bullshit, and calling him a coward and all this crap. The stuff I copped on socials, I was there for it. Like that's good. I think it's all good. People be passionate about their football club. You can do it in the right way though, without calling it'd be like calling I don't know, without being personal to me. You can go at my opinion as hard as you like, but I'll stand by it. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Show the FootyCast. Michael Clare, 91, some listener questions. Skeeter, in regards to Nick Dacos having the best second year ever, I said that last Monday, I think. Modra kicked 129 goals in his second year, and he didn't win the Coleman that year, losing out to Ablett. Solid competition that year. How's that?
Who's the correspondent?
Michael Clare.
Michael, outstanding fact, and that I didn't realise it was his second year. 129 goals.
So I went and checked it. When I saw that come through, I went and chucked it into the AFL stat, and he kicked 129 in his second year I'm assuming as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old.
And probably taking about 6 or 8 hangers
marks of the year
in the process.
Yeah, that's very good. A bit of agreeance here with us, Skate. This is from Lux5072 over at that's not Skate. This is on social media. Someone's
no, but it just sounds like something a bit dodgy.
Okay, the grand final must always be one game only, and ideally played on a neutral venue.
Yeah.
Personally, someone just deleted it.
Anyway, if that was the question or the statement.
What just happened then?
So neutral venue, I'm not sure that quite works. The only thing I would say, the contract with the MCC and playing the big game at the MCG till 2057, I would like to see the opportunity in the next 30, 40 years, if there's even 1 year of a decade that Perth gets another opportunity, Adelaide Oval, for instance, gets an opportunity.
Yes.
Once Queensland,
but that's not going to happen because the MCG is going to 100-year deal.
I just said I know there's another 35.
Jaden deleted all my shit in front of me, and I'm waiting for it to get back.
35 years.
Put the other one back there.
35 years to go with the contract. I get all that, but I'm saying they're not going to play it at a neutral venue. I mean, that was the guts of the question, was it?
Yes.
Yes. That's not going to happen. A neutral venue. I understand the premise. A bit like playing best of 3. Just it doesn't sit well. It's not going to. It's clunky. As I said, the only thing I think would be good, given what we saw in Perth, not so much the Gabba because that was COVID induced and the ground's crappy. But, I'd like to see once a decade that the grand final gets the opportunity and compensation goes to the MCC and the MCG for a game to be played at another venue, a bit like the Super Bowl.
They're going to have to renegotiate.
No, I just said this is not.
I wasn't listening.
This is 2057. We know the contract is in place.
Right.
I understand all that, but in an ideal world, we'd be able to see another grand final in our lifetime.
How old will we be in 2057?
Well, I'll be 87. I'll be cooked. I won't be here, mate. I'll be Gonski.
2057.
You might be just
how
kicking
far
around.
away is that?
If you're still doing the
How
shot
many
of
years?
57, that's 34 years away. So if you're still sitting here doing your shot of...
I'll be close to 70. Let me tell you about these late changes that have been going on.
I'll tell you what, if I get rolled by another point in a multi, I'm going to spew.
Thursday Gavel, Player of the Week. Get down and get your shelters. Shelter XPA X Factor. Who is it, Skeeter? We had two poor performing West Australian sides. That's throwing something at
Is
you.
anyone who played well from a WA? Can we get
That's what I was trying to find.
Shane Bolton,
I'll tell you who. Sammy Powell-Pepper.
Yeah.
Sammy Powell-Pepper.
Can we get it across to
Oh,
Adelaide?
we'll get it over there, mate. Don't worry about that. Sam Powell-Pepper from the Port Adelaide. Power. Just absolutely sizzling. I know they don't win, but he's an absolute kickstarter for them. Yep,
we love him.
There you go, Sammy. Enjoy those, mate. I don't reckon that's the first slab he's got. I reckon he's got a few from us over the years. Shelter FootyCast on Instagram, skate. FootyCast at shelterbrewing.com.au. Send us an email if you want to. Make sure you get your tickets for Frothtown. Get your beers at Thirsty Camel. Get your bets on and win some responsibly, unlike Skate.
Yep, go well. See you Thursday.